Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Arielle Feger, Senior Analyst, Media Content at eMarketer. It's great to have you with us for today's first Field Guide webinar. It's a new format where we explore the capabilities, needs, and benefits of key categories of MarTech, AdTech, or Commerce Tech. Joining me today in our New York studio is Greg Cappello, Vice President, Product Marketing at LiveIntent. Together, we'll unpack the evolving world of identifiers, share actionable insights, and explore identity adoption strategies. Hi, Greg.
Hey, Arielle. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Now, before we get into the discussion, we're going to play this video, narrated by Marcus Johnson, Senior Director of Podcasts and the host of Behind the Numbers podcast, to explain the eMarketer Field Guide made possible by LiveIntent.
Targeting users across TV, social media, and the open web is a challenge. But identity solutions and alternative identifiers are helping marketers to get the full picture of their audiences so they can send them effective offers, messages, and experiences. This field guide explores non-cookie identifiers and identity solutions to help clarify these concepts, to explore the range of options, and to guide marketers on how to choose and test these solutions. Let's get into it. So why do marketers need alternative identifiers? Even with Google's decision to preserve third-party cookies, reasons include privacy laws, changing consumer attitudes towards privacy, and the need to link identities across media types. Privacy regulations are evolving rapidly, dictating when, how, and with whom advertisers can share consumer data. You may face a complex array of rules depending on where you operate. Privacy laws classify certain information as personal or sensitive, limiting advertisers' access and use. According to a recent survey from the Interactive Advertising Bureau and BWG Strategy, 89% of US brand and agency buyers report privacy legislation somewhat or significantly impacted their personalization strategies. Consumers are increasingly concerned about data privacy. A significant 84.1% of US consumers express concern about their data privacy when interacting with brands online, according to a December 2023 survey by Attest. This concern spans all age groups, reflecting a broad shift in consumer attitudes. Maintaining addressability across the open web is a significant challenge. Platforms like Facebook and Google offer scale and consistent data, but advertisers need strategies to connect data across multiple platforms and channels. Identity solutions help by identifying individuals or households across digital channels like web browsers, mobile apps, and connected TV using identifiers like IP addresses, hashed emails, and device IDs. Identity solutions use two main types of data, deterministic and probabilistic. Deterministic data includes exact information like names or email addresses, offering high accuracy. Probabilistic data includes variable information like IP addresses, helping to scale campaigns with less precision. A comprehensive identity solution typically combines both types of data. Many identity solutions use identity graphs to compile various identifiers and create a single view of consumers. Understanding zero-party, first-party, second-party, and third-party consumer data is essential for effective identity resolution. Zero-party data is voluntarily provided by consumers through things like customer surveys, polls, quizzes, or feedback forms. First-party data is collected directly from consumers through a brand's owned channels, like their website or app. Examples include browsing behaviors, purchase history, and demographic information. Second-party data is another organization's first-party data, which can be purchased or shared via partnerships. Third-party data is aggregated from various websites and apps by providers without direct consumer relationships, such as browsing history or interactions with websites. As traditional identifiers like cookies are limited in certain browsers, alternative solutions like universal IDs, Google's privacy sandbox, and data clean rooms are gaining popularity. Universal IDs use a unique data signal to create an anonymous identifier that can be shared across the advertising ecosystem. However, widespread adoption requires consumer opt-in and industry-wide cooperation. Several universal ID solutions are available, each with unique approaches. For instance, The Trade Desk's Unified ID 2.0 uses a single piece of deterministic data, like an email address, to create an encrypted, anonymous identifier. This identifier can be shared across participating publishers' websites, mobile apps, and connected TV apps. LiveRamp's Ramp ID ties to the company's identity graph, converting consumer data into unique IDs that can be used across digital, mobile, and connected TV platforms. LiveIntent's Hero Addressability solution leverages first-party data built from the logged-in media assets and LiveIntent's identity graph to help make audiences addressable across the web. Hero is ID agnostic, meaning clients aren't required to use LiveIntent's non-ID. The solution is integrated across several programmatic channels as well as supply-side platforms. Data clean rooms are another key solution. These secure digital environments allow multiple parties to combine their first-party data to produce audience and campaign insights whilst maintaining privacy. Data clean rooms add another layer of privacy for marketers and can be used with other identity solutions. Before adopting an alternative identity solution, consider these key steps. First, conduct a data audit to identify gaps. How much third-party data are you using today? How are you using it? If that data does go away, how much first-party data do you have? This audit will provide more insight into what kind of solution or solutions are right for your organization. Next, secure organizational buy-in by demonstrating the long-term benefits of these solutions. Identity solutions require time, talent, and potentially a significant financial commitment. To get approval, especially from leadership, marketers must show the practical value of the identity solution and how it can benefit the company over time. Testing and learning comes next and is a crucial step. This period allows marketers to collect valuable insights into measurement and targeting. Finally, ensure privacy is central to your strategy. Compliance with state, federal, and global privacy laws is mandatory. Identity solution providers must employ consent management and user preference tools to maintain records for each user. Transparency about data usage is essential to maintain consumer trust. The main goal is to protect consumer privacy. Intrusive targeting, even within privacy regulations, can damage your brand's reputation. The identity landscape is evolving, so exploring and testing new solutions helps teams stay ahead. To learn more, explore eMarketer's field guide to identity resolution and alternative identifiers.
All right, and we're back. Love that video. I think it's so cool.
Really good.
Greg, it's great to have you with us today to talk about identity resolution strategies and how to maintain privacy while tracking users across channels. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to talk a little bit more about what we just saw. Excellent video, really.
Awesome. All right, let's dig in. Now that Google has reversed its decision to phase out third-party cookies, how are you seeing the role of identity solutions evolve?
Well, I do think that identity solutions still remain critical, even though Google has reversed its decision. Between privacy concerns and regulation, I do think there's a push for marketers to adopt more of these alternate identifiers. I mean, if you think about the solutions still need to be in place, I mean, I like to say Google may not be deprecating cookies directly, but I ultimately think they do go away.
Yeah. It's a great point. Do you think consumers, given a choice, will, opt out from cookies and require marketers to then move to use identity solutions?
So I do. And in some ways, I actually think this could accelerate users basically opting into cookieless preferences. I mean, if you look at what happened with Apple ATT and the rate that consumers opted out of app tracking, we could be headed down a similar path there. I think the questions that I still have are, how are these preferences going to be presented to users?
Yep.
Is it going to be at a global browser level or maybe site by site? I think all of that remains to be seen. I think at the end of the day, though, marketers and even publishers they need to start preparing for really less stable third-party cookie-based solutions as they move forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a wait and see kind of thing. In the meantime, cookies will kind of remain in play for a little bit. How is the industry going to still push for alternative identifiers?
Well, I think it'll push in several ways. I think between data fragmentation, best practices, and even just high growth areas, I think all of these are going to benefit from consent-based stable IDs. So for example, if you look at CTV and retail media, both of these categories are driving a ton of growth this year. And both of them are benefiting from a brand onboarding their first party data, building and reaching addressable audiences at scale. And this is done really effectively when they utilize universal IDs. So I think as they look at cookieless solutions and really how to do it more effectively across channels, there's more cookieless channels that can benefit from this, whether it's increasingly the web, email, and obviously CTV.
Yeah, that's a great transition. So as you said, there's a lot of channels out there, consumers are everywhere. What are the challenges that marketers are facing, trying to connect identities across this really complex digital landscape, which includes, as we said, like CTV, social media, walled gardens, and the open web?
So I actually like to look at this from the consumer's perspective. And I think consumers are expecting a more personalized, curated experience, whether that's on social, streaming, or even their favorite websites and apps. So there's an expectation of also advertising feeling more personal. So the advertising should feel personal to the platform and maybe even customized or curated to the content that you're consuming. The problem is our identities are fragmented across all of these platforms. Platforms are using emails in the form of logins, they're using email hash, third-party cookies, IP address, but we're also seeing increasingly stable IDs used for targeting. So this creates a massive challenge for marketers because it's now not just about reaching your audience, but it's also about unifying them across these various IDs and then effectively measuring their impact of all their marketing efforts that are going on. So it's just getting harder and harder to really understand how is this working? How am I seeing the outcomes?
Yeah, it's like kind of double duty. You have to first reach people, and then you also have to figure out, okay, is the way that I'm reaching them, is the way I'm engaging with them effective? And that also requires being able to kind of, put that all together.
Yeah, exactly.
How are identity solutions help solve that fragmentation issue?
So I think it starts to help to just like unify and even enrich some of this customer data. So when you're working with a trusted identity provider, they can consolidate your customers into a single data platform, unifying them with a common ID. And then from there, you can get a better understanding and even start segmenting your audiences into target personas you want to activate across channels. And this work also lays the foundation for ultimately doing better attribution and better measurement overall.
Yeah, great. What do you think are some barriers? What are the main barriers to achieving widespread adoption of identity solutions?
So it kind of sounds funny, but one of the main barriers are the industry is still heavily reliant on third-party cookies.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a reluctance or just a slowness to adopt some of these new solutions, but I don't think it's quite chicken and the egg either. I just think the industry is waiting to see what the real impact will be when third-party cookies actually go away. And to be fair, maybe some believe they never will. So that's definitely one barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, another barrier has been just resources, but I have seen some good data that shows maybe about like 72% of advertisers plan on either increasing their budgets or hiring around first-party data initiatives. So that type of focus and investment could really help accelerate things as we head into 2025.
Yeah, I agree. What can identity solution providers do to encourage marketers to adopt identity solutions?
So I always say to marketers and again publishers that my advice is usually like just to start somewhere. It's very important to get started and start testing. So I think that's one of the most important things to do. So for an identity provider, it's really collaborating and working closely with a marketer to start identifying use cases and really short, mid, and long-term solutions. From there, you can put together some proof of concepts to show not only the potential of these solutions, but really the immediate benefit and impact they can make for a marketer.
Yeah, absolutely. Switching gears a little bit, as the video mentioned, data clean rooms are emerging as a powerful tool to help, data collaboration happen between marketers, between companies. How are you seeing marketers leveraging these environments to improve their targeting and measurement strategies, especially in a cookie world?
Yeah, so I think the video did a great job just kind of laying out the data clean rooms enable more secure collaboration between platforms while maintaining privacy. I mean, that's really key at what it does. For a marketer, it allows them to really onboard their first-party data and combine it with another set of first-party data in the spirit of building audiences to improve targeting and enhance measurement across all the platforms, across all the channels they want to light up advertising against. So from my perspective, data clean rooms become this additional destination for unified first-party data, and a marketer can take real advantage of the collaboration with ad marketplaces, publishers, and even demand-side platforms to really activate their advertising.
Yeah, it seems like it's another tool in kind of this toolbox that we're building of how to collaborate and be privacy safe and respect, you know, consumers' privacy, which I think is, you know, the goal of all of this. Identity graphs, they're, as again in the video, they're kind of a really important component of identity solutions. They help brands maintain a single view of the customer across all of the different touch points. Could you explain a little bit more about identity graphs and why they're critical to building a cohesive marketing strategy?
Yeah. So it's true. Identity graphs are another great tool, and they compile data from multiple sources, as we saw in the video, deterministic data, probabilistic data, and they really help create that unified view of customers across platforms and also devices, which is key.
Yeah.
So this unified view, that's what enables this consistent and personalized marketing strategies across channels like CTV, social, web, mobile web, mobile app, etc. So identity graphs are really just a great way to understand your customer's digital identity, but you can then resolve it back to either a unique or a stable ID that's actionable. And that's the key, is you want to take all this data, unify it, understand it, and then put it into motion.
Awesome. I do want to just take a moment to remind the audience, please put your questions in the chat. We would love to hear what you guys are thinking, love to hear what you guys are you know, want to ask. So please take a moment to do that. Okay, so first party data, again, it's more critical than ever. How is the relationship between first party data and identity solutions evolving? You know, brands seem to be focusing on collecting more of their own first party data and leveraging that data. So what role are, you know, identity solutions playing in that?
So if I had to think of one of the themes of today, I think it's that first-party data is becoming essential for brands in this kind of post-third-party cookie world. And identity solutions or identity providers are really going to help put all that data into motion. So they're going to work really closely together to do that. So integrating first-party data, whether it's into an identity graph or adopting universal identifiers, essentially it's going to allow for more accurate targeting and measurement while ensuring privacy and compliance, again, in this like new wave of digital advertising and marketing as we enter more from a third party to a first party world.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've got a audience question. Does the brand own the data that is collected in a data clean room, or do they just rent the space? Do you know, I don't know if you know it, you know, how data clean rooms work, the ins and outs. Do brands have to build their own data clean room for every campaign? Do you have any insights into that?
So I definitely have some gaps of where we'll get to, but you know, effectively what they're doing is they're taking their first party data and combining with another set of first party data. And if you want to get really technical, I guess you can call this like a second party data segment. So at that point, I don't think they own the data, but they can really use it. And that now that audience is very addressable across all the channels they want to activate it on and then measure against. So they're not quite building a data clean room or renting the space, but they're finding an audience, mapping it to an audience that can be reached, and then executing and activating it at scale. So it's really key. Anything deeper than that, I think, is a really good follow-up question that even I'd be curious about. So it's good to know kind of the nuances there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I would definitely love to learn more about how those kind of layers exist. So the question, another audience question, how does kind of an identity solution approach help with sometimes often inaccurate data that social platforms can have? Do you have any insights into that?
You know, it's tough to say, because one of the benefits of, you know, these identity graphs and these identity solutions now as we enter kind of this first party world is it's getting a lot of what used to be held up in the walled gardens out of the walled gardens and making it kind of like a place where everyone can participate and succeed anywhere, whether it's the open web, CTV, retail media networks, etc. So Some of how you get the data out of the social platforms that may or not be inaccurate, I'm not exactly sure, but what I can say is you can start unifying that customer that you're seeing on these other channels, as well as when you're seeing them on social, and start mapping. Is it the same user? Do they have the same patterns? Can I enrich the data and kind of line up, are the interests are the same? Are their behaviors the same? So I do think it gives you kind of a better source of truth that you can control and that you can feel some data independence on without having to rely on every single thing that may or may not ever get out of a traditional walled garden.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I would assume, kind of the more the more data that you can use to build kind of a holistic view, the kind of better you get to know your customer, and the less you have to depend on any one source, and I think that's really kind of the goal, is to be able to not have to rely on any one source of data.
Yeah, in a way, once you kind of have this view, you can actually start bringing the data to the social platforms. You have a much better understanding of who you want to reach, when you want to reach them, and how. And then you can start being in more control of executing those strategies as opposed to the reverse and trying to reverse engineer it into other platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. All right. So kind of as marketers get started on their journey, what are some key steps or pieces of advice that you have for them to start, exploring or experimenting with identity solutions?
Yeah, so another theme of today is really getting started and just starting somewhere. Again, the video touched on this a little bit, but I do think conducting a data audit is a really good first step, and really just to understand what first-party data you already have or you're already collecting, and then start looking for the gaps. So the gaps may actually be gaps in the data, or maybe gaps are you figure out you're actually collecting data from too many sources and you can't even make sense of it anymore because it's coming in from all different directions. I think from there, you want to look for providers to help you onboard and unify all this data. And this goes back to tying all of your customers together, because you probably have newsletter subscribers, you have website visitors, you have web logins, streaming customers. So you want to start consolidating all these channels into a single view. And then from there, testing and learning is key. So whether it's certain business strategies or a single use case, I would start testing things and see what's providing the most value, what you can learn from the quickest. And then at this point, your relationship with your identity provider is probably good enough where you can sit and consult on what the next thing to open up is and how you want to expand your strategies beyond that.
Yeah, awesome. Great. So I want to kind of go back to first party data. I think we kind of talked about a little bit, but do you have any tips on making first party data, actionable across various channels?
Yeah, so I would say whether you go down the route of integrating with an identity solutions provider or identity graph or a combination of them, what you want to do is you want to get all of your data into one place. So unified. I've said that a few times, like unify that data. But then a data provider or identity graph will help you really associate all of those customers in that entire view to a common, unique, or a stable ID. And then that stable ID is something that you'll be able to take to platforms that are either decisioning off that or working with that for inventory standpoint to start saying, I know who my customers are. I know how to reach them. I have a marketing strategy because I now understand that persona better. And now I want to activate them, whether it's through a DSP or working directly in a curated ad marketplace, or going direct to publisher again, saying, let's combine our data and see how we can reach these users. So I think the unification and then associating them with common IDs will help with that activation.
Awesome. I think that's all we've got for today. It goes by so fast.
Those are great questions. Yeah.
Greg, so thank you so much again for chatting with me today and answering all these audience questions.
Sure.
We really appreciate it. Before we wrap up, let me take a moment to tell you about eMarketer's media channels. Visit emarketer.com to register for more upcoming webinars like these and sign up for our newsletters. Don't forget to tune in to Behind the Numbers, an eMarketer's daily podcast, where you can find anywhere you listen to podcasts. Keep an eye on your email for the link to today's playback. And of course, feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Thank you all for your time. And thanks again to Greg, the team at LiveIntent, our eMarketer studio team, who are working always behind the scenes to make this happen. And thank you for making this webinar possible. Enjoy the rest of your day.